We asked two rich women from Ukraine and Saudi Arabia how their cultures shaped who they are.
My name is Albina. I'm from Ukraine. I was able to get my green card, and then I started following my passion, and I became a founder of Privileged Few. I'm also the second generation, and my parents are entrepreneurs.
My name is Hala. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I grew up in Saudi, specifically in Jeddah, until I was 18. Then I graduated from California, Los Angeles, in architecture school. I designed jewelry instead, and I now have my own brand. My dad is a businessman, and we did real estate and really all types of things.
And you're just like me, you're the second generation, right?
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself privileged?
Yes.
I feel like extra privileged, to be honest.
I think my privilege comes from wealth privilege. I also think that I have knowledge privilege.
The first type of privilege, which is my parents, it's basically the success in general. But then I would say me, with social media, I have another type. I've added to it.
What does the social media privilege look like to you?
If you stand for something, you can actually just literally lift up your phone and talk about it. It's nice to know that you have that base of people who believe in you and you can actually change.
What's the most humbling experience you've had that people wouldn't believe in coming from a rich girl?
Can't think of anything, honestly.
Well, definitely the most humbling experience was experiencing war for the first time.
Oh.
Our parents never said no to us. My mom was always a little more strict. She never wanted us to waste money. But then the war has started and we went to buy some groceries, and I just took some expensive ice cream as I always take it, and I put it in the basket. And my mom just turns around and she's like, no. And I'm like, Mom, what do you mean no? And she's like, we do not have the money, don't you get it? And I was like, oh my God, how poor we are that we can't afford the ice cream.
Oh my God.
And then 10 years later, I told my dad about this situation. And my dad was like, Lena, that's my mom's name, I can't believe you wouldn't let her buy the ice cream. Things were not that bad, but yeah, just like...
It traumatized you.
Yeah. It actually, I know that it sounds funny, that it traumatized me, but it was like the moment shit, I thought my dad made enough money for many generations yet to come and we never have to worry about this. And then I was like, oh, I actually have to become...
Have ice cream?
Yeah, now I can have ice cream and I have to come up with a plan how to become a valuable asset for my family going forward.
Not that we didn't have no financial issues at all, because my parents are separated. So during settling the divorce, it was a bit more tense. I did feel that intensity of okay, what's the child support? What's going to happen? La, la, la. And your parents are kind of sometimes angry at each other, right? Because they're getting divorced and you feel it. So it wasn't all happy and cotton candy. And because I feel like every human needs a struggle. So it's kind of pick your struggle. You need both sides of things to feel the difference.
I think it's about finding value, because materialistic things themselves cannot be a value. But I also feel like it's such a privileged perspective because you already experienced this. During divorce, usually in Saudi, children usually stay with the father, right?
Yes, until they get, when they're really, really young with the mom, but then until they get a certain age, I'm not sure about the age now, they have to go back to the father.
That's so eye-opening, because in Ukraine, I think 95% of the time children would always stay with the mother, and it's almost like an expectation for the mother to have the children.
What is inappropriate for a rich girl to do in your society?
Do you have time?
There is no such thing for Ukrainian women anymore. I think they're pretty free to do whatever they want.
Think of it like princess, right? Or going to a really official government event. When you're moving like a crazy person, that stands out, really. You don't move, you don't just run around or jump around and all that.
So you can't act like Italians.
Like this? No. Especially if you're a girl, no.
It's like bad manners?
If it's an event, if it's anything that's not, a friend's gathering. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in public. And they like it though. We like it. We like to be that when we're in front of strangers, complete strangers. They appreciate privacy above all. You just don't talk about yourself or about anyone that openly in front of anyone. Everything is so private,
Interesting.
Yeah. So I like it. I don't mind it at all.
I think for us, there is this saying that if you want to stay friends, you do not talk about religion, politics, and health. But I'm like, what else is there to talk about?
Oh no, come on. I have a lot of things. Pets, hello. Even me living in the US by myself, absolutely unacceptable. That's like the most unacceptable thing a Saudi girl can do, especially that I didn't have a male. Like my dad didn't have time to go to live with me there because they tell you, you know, someone has to stay with you. But no one was able to, and I was there by myself, and that was a miracle. And of course, my family, the relatives, like, or the far people from my dad and my mom's side, they would be like, your daughter's there by herself? Your daughter's there? Like, what is this? Like, oh my God, you know? But luckily, my dad and my mom never listened. They don't listen. Like,
how come your parents are so open-minded?
I don't know. I got them like that.
You just got lucky.
I just came and they were like that.
I had a lot of people who went to university with me who are from Saudi, and I found out that your GPA, correct me if I'm wrong, has to be like 2.8 in order for government to cover your scholarships.
You have to have a certain GPA, yes, of course.
Dude, it's impossible for us to have the government pay for international education.
Oh my God, hashtag blessed.
It's really amazing because in the eyes of our people, if you study abroad, you're already coming from a wealthy family, and for government to pay for you, it's just unfair because you can already afford it in the first place.
What was your first rebellious act in the eyes of your society?
I'm one of the first, if not the first, of the people who opened my Instagram account in Saudi. So the reason why, I think one of the biggest reasons that I got really famous without even trying is because people knew I was Saudi and my account was open and public. So everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's Saudi, like look at her, she's in California living it up, you know?
Before, everybody had to
no
have
one,
private
like
accounts, right?
Yeah, only like maybe a TV presenter would be online, but very low-key, very...
How did you feel brave enough to do this?
I just wanted to enjoy life, and I think that showed because I wasn't trying to break any rules. I just wanted to breathe and live, and that's it. And I was like, if someone sees me in real life like this, then so what if they see me on the phone? It's the same. But in Saudi, no, you can actually do whatever in real life, but on social media, you have to be a certain way. Like some, let's say, maybe hijabi influencers, they're not hijabi in real life, and everyone knows, but like the image is you wear the hijab.
Is it done for the purposes of image of the family and reputation of the family?
Yeah. A lot of the times it's like that, and just to have a good image.
I think my first rebellious act was when I started Privileged Few and I started talking badly about some of the rich people and exposing this. Because when you come from upper class, you shouldn't be shit-talking your own people.
Yeah.
And often my parents would be very worried about this. And I knew that sometimes it's not helpful for my family's image because of my parents' job and so on and so forth. But my parents got rich not because of the system, but despite of it. And I grew up in a household where we were always against the oligarchy. But you could not say it online.
Did you get any threats or anything?
Yeah, obviously. And I think threats don't really bother me. What bothers me...
Doesn't scare you?
No. What bothers me is losing friends.
Okay.
In this process. Especially I was friends with a lot of children of politicians before. And then for me to go online and to say that I don't think that there is such a thing as an honest politician in our country. And obviously then it becomes the direct talking point towards your friend's parents. So I think that was my rebellious act, but I stand by it.
Was there a moment when you felt guilty about having more than others?
No, never.
Really, I'm surprised.
Why would I feel guilty?
My parents made sure that all of the activities which I'm doing, they're not only with my friends from private schools, but they're also, for example, with my friends who are from completely different financial backgrounds. And I remember one time I invited this girl who was with me in music school, and I invited her to my house, and she entered the house, and oh my God, I recall it in my memory so vividly. She sat down on the stairs in our house, and she took her head like this, and she couldn't believe that people can live like this. And she was telling me about her apartment, where she lives. And I just understood that it was lucky lottery that I was just born into a wealthy family. And at moments like this, I felt the guilt.
I'm not the richest person I know. I know people who are way richer and their life is way, more impressive maybe. So for me, I'm seeing every type, right? So I don't feel like, why would I go and like be ungrateful and look at the people who don't have anything and start feeling guilt and be on a low energy, where I can be just thankful for what I have, help whenever I can, and then also aspire to be even more. Because I'm just there in the middle.
In the middle, in your eyes, though.
I don't know. Money is endless. And I believe in the abundance in the world. And I believe people who go out of nothing and become something. There's so many inspiring stories.
I actually don't really see those stories anymore. That's where my guilt is coming from. That before I would see so many stories of people who are self-made. And now every time I see this inspiring story, it's the daughter of this another billionaire. And that's where my guilt is coming from, that the system has gotten so rotten that so few people have opportunities. And that's what makes me feel guilty.
I feel like sometimes I think, did social media bring a little bit of that chance back for someone to be literally in a village with no shoes to be famous? There is examples for that. And I'm thinking, is that, like, I kind of love that about social media. Is that with a funny character, you can be famous and rich,
What does marriage mean in your culture, and what does it mean to you?
I decided that for me, marriage and love is about being understood. When I was in my previous relationships, I thought that marriage is more about like just romance, right? Just the emotional part of it. And only now that I met my husband, I realized how important it is for me to be aligned at how we look at work. Because work is such a huge part of my life. And when I'm with a person who's also super disciplined, I'm so inspired by him. And I feel understood.
I like, to be with someone who is very into health and living organically and doing the weird exercises and loving animals.
So what's important for you in partnership is shared values, because you're saying
yes,
health.
Exactly. Yes.
It's important because you think that then you would have like, you wake up, both of you go to work out, and then you grab matcha.
Exactly. It's about, I think lifestyle the most. I think if I'm getting married to someone, I want to see myself fitting in their life and see them fitting in mine. There's no point of like changing too much for someone. Like, it's not needed. You can find someone who's very similar to you and you blend very easily.
I think for Ukraine and for Slavic countries, especially in today's economy, many people started looking at marriage as an opportunity for women, for financial gain. I think it's just the economy is so bad that people often think that their only opportunity to get richer is not through getting an amazing job, because it's like a hard path, right?
Yeah.
The easiest solution is just to marry rich. Come on, everybody online says, I'll just marry rich.
You're always giving something, right? No one just gives you money for nothing, even a husband. You're always giving a bit of your power when you're depending on someone. And of course, the man has to take care of the family, but I wouldn't, like, it's not a job. I don't know. It irritates me when I see women looking for a husband to
as a work
to
plan.
fully cover her. Yeah, I don't understand that at all. I think working on herself and getting any type of job is going to be way more fulfilling. Actually, might help her get a better husband, and she is in control of her life and her opinions and everything.
Were you ever pressured to a certain timeline when it comes to marriage?
For me, even if I see someone stressing about getting married, I'm like, I don't even have a reaction. Like, what are you saying? Please. So no, I don't feel pressured at all. I just want to be convinced and be ready myself.
I didn't feel the pressure from my family, thank God, because I have so many girlfriends from my country whose parents were constantly telling them, you're about to turn 25 and you're still not married.
But this is society pressure, right? It's unspoken.
Society pressure, yeah.
It's unspoken rule. You're gonna feel it from people's eyes and like, But no one's gonna force you, right?
I think now there is actually a new trend with rich girls in our countries. It's getting married like very early. And the reason why is because the necessities became super expensive. Like owning the house, having a child, very expensive.
Okay.
And having a family became a status symbol. And the more children you can have, the richer you are.
I can't keep up with this world.
I know, right?
What is one thing about your upbringing that would shock people, not because it's luxurious, but because it was restrictive?
The culture back then was a bit more strict than now, so definitely it was overall just restrictive to girls. No, it was just everything.
You're not naming anything because it was everything.
It was almost everything, yes, because for girls it was a bit more like, you know, the girl, protect the girl cover the girl, you know?
When I was younger, I had bodyguards it wasn't really for safety reasons. It was, I don't know. Well, my dad was telling me that the main reason why he had it is for witnesses. Ukraine back then was pretty corrupt, pretty dangerous. And if you were a successful businessman, they could come to your house, give a warrant and say...
Kidnap your kid?
No. They would say that during this time, you committed a crime. And because you were with your bodyguard 24/7, he was like a witness. And he could say, no, actually, during that time, he was there.
Oh.
But for the children, it was more like from making sure that they're not doing anything shady. Because when you constantly have an adult with you, obviously you can't do anything.
It's like a nanny as well.
Pretty much like a nanny.
We have people who do that. Maybe some royal family, people who are like, just have a lot of nannies. Yeah, a male nanny, as you said. But I never had that personally. We've always been in safe areas. In Saudi, it was safe, and
it was like super cool to have them until I was 12, because as you were saying, they were my nannies and we were playing totally spies and they were like the coolest people on earth. But then I became a teenager and I wanted to see my friends without them. But my parents wouldn't allow that. So we would go to the movie theater and I would ask my bodyguards, like, please don't go with me, please don't go with me. And he's like, I will get fired, I cannot go with you.
Okay.
So the lights would go down and then he would walk in so my friends don't see him, and he would sit like a couple's row behind. But my friends already knew their faces, and when I would get up and go to the bathroom, they would chase me, and that made me super uncool. And I really hated it back then. That was the restrictive thing.
And then when did it stop?
It stopped when I moved to Kiev from my hometown.
Yeah.
And I was telling my dad, I promise I will be such a good kid. Please, like, let me not have them. And my dad agreed. Later, I learned that I still had them, but they were watching me from far away, but I didn't care.
Have you ever stayed quiet about something important because speaking would damage your family's image?
Sometimes you kind of have to like not say stuff just to not fuel fire or something like that.
I'm staying quiet right now, but the reason why I'm staying quiet is Ukraine is currently in war. And I decided that I will voice certain things only after the war is over, because I think if you say something right now, it's gonna look like an attack against your own country.
My statement was about the world. It wasn't about my country, to be honest. I'm happy with everything in Saudi. And also, not my family's image, it's more like me, my image. I think I'm grown enough now. I am proud of myself. I try to keep my statements with like universal truths instead of dealing with little fights. And it's always soothing. It's always better when you look at the bigger images. So even when I comment on anything like political or whatever, I'm always commenting from my point of view, and it's always peaceful. It's always, you know, I want the best for everyone, and I'm not going to fight about this. If I can help. If I can't help, I'll just shut up. And because I'm not really educated enough to make any statements, so that's why I wouldn't meddle in politics. It's not my thing.
So you think it's not a responsibility of an influencer to be politically outspoken?
Yeah, I think not everyone should actually talk about everything.
Yeah.
Some cases, yes, when there's injustice and it's so obvious, of course, and I did. But other not every time.
I also think that many people get pressured into saying something.
Yeah.
And I think it often does more damage than good. Somebody started their content because they're doing skits about something funny, or because they're doing something about makeup.
Yeah.
And then you expect them to become a political activist.
Out of sudden, yeah.
Do you know how educated they are? Do you know if they're doing this sincerely?
Exactly.
And I think
That's
this is my
100%.
problem with this.
Exactly. We're not supposed to hear everyone's take on everything, you know? I think it's more productive if every influencer actually picked a cause forever. You want to protect the cows? Protect the cows. Do everything for the cows. Live for the cows. Change the life of the cows. and stick to it. But just giving just like a little bit here and there about each fact just to please the people who are just gonna yell at you in the comments for once, and you're trying to please everyone. You just say something you don't believe in or don't even know anything about, and you're actually, sometimes you say something wrong and you get more in trouble. So I think it's better to be genuine about the cause you pick and stick to it. That would be way more beneficial for the universe.
Is it possible in your country to befriend someone from a very different financial background?
I can tell you that you can definitely befriend different people in Ukraine, but because there is lack of middle class, it's hard to meet in the first place. So I think it's definitely possible, but there are challenges to it.
It's the same actually in Saudi. I think it's everywhere, unless you want to pay for your friends to come with you. And I've done it sometimes. I don't think you can do it in the long run unless... I wouldn't do it. I stopped doing it, to be honest.
When you do it once and twice and you keep on doing this, it becomes an expectation.
Yes, exactly. And also, it starts to feel like, what if I don't pay? Like, are they gonna actually like me? And it feels like sometimes you say something and they agree with you and you know they wouldn't otherwise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I see it, and I see it even with my friends who pay for the people with them. I feel like, I can see that you were not in the mood, but you faked what you said because, this is kind of like the guy who's sponsoring you, basically.
How ambitious a rich girl is allowed to be publicly?
There's no limit. She can be as ambitious, and the more ambitious, the better.
Really?
Yeah.
I think in Ukraine, you can be as ambitious as you want, but it's kind of like a weird image if you are more successful than your husband.
Oh, okay. No, that's another thing. The men themselves won't like it, to not be able to impress his woman. Everything she can do herself, and he cannot do anything. Like, he can't do anything that she cannot do herself. And sometimes, maybe if you pretend...
I was in a relationship like this before.
Ugh.
And I thought that I don't really care about traditional gender roles until the gender roles were reversed. And what I learned is exactly what you were saying. It bothered him more than it bothered me.
Yeah.
How does a typical rich girl look and dress in your culture?
I think the girls in Jeddah, because it's a coastal city and it's very like a lot of mixed with people who are originally not Saudi. It's very interesting. You see the girls, they look cool. They look very international. They wear emerging designers. They're not like the girl who would have all Cartiers.
Yeah.
So they're like that. And I think the culture when you're in a coastal city, it's like the hair, everything, it's affected, of course, because of where you are. Versus the girls in Riyadh, they're more the most expensive things, and that's the fashion, whether it's Cartier, Hermes, whatever, then that's that. It's less fashion, more luxury. Here, more fashion, maybe a bit less luxury.
In Ukraine, there is a mainstream cool girl.
Yeah.
Who's wearing all of the trends, all of the designer. But then there is the cool girl, who is like, not everybody gets her style, but the people who get it.
I think now we're getting more people like that in Saudi as they figure out their style. Because when you're living a lot of your life in a traditional wear, you were not challenged to style yourself every day. I used to go to school with a pajama under my abaya. I don't even look at myself. I just throw it on and grab my coffee and go. It was a very simple life. I loved it. But that also make you not as stylish.
I remember my first day at university. I had to go to breakfast at our dorm cafe. And I was wearing jeans, I'm wearing a nice top, and I come in and everybody's wearing pajamas. And people were like, where are you going after this? I'm like, I'm just getting breakfast. Because in Ukraine, it's completely inappropriate to show up in your pajamas to eat breakfast.
And really?
Yeah. It's unless you're at home. You guys always smell the best. That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, for sure.
What are the perfumes?
Oh, it's a mix. It's always a mix. It's always like a laboratory.
Oh my God.
I can't even keep up. And then there's the oil. The oil, you just put it here. That's when if someone says hi to you and they kiss you, they smell it. But not everyone. The body spray, then the hair spray, then the overall spray, and it's all different.
Do you have favorite brands?
I look for materials now more than anything. I like to wear silk. I'm addicted to wearing silk. So sorry for coming with this t-shirt today.
No,
guys.
you look so cool. I also love your jewelry. Guys, shout out to Ofa. This is the brand of this gorgeous girl, architect. You can see that you're an architect by your
this is
jewelry.
inspired by the architecture in Saudi.
How did you come up with this idea?
Because I wanted to do something that is from my culture. It's very rich. When you go to Saudi, if you ever go, it's very, very beautiful to look at. All the historical places. It's very... I wanted to wear that. And I'm an architect, right? So it felt like I needed to take that and make it wearable. And honestly, it's doing very well. And this is emerald because Saudi flag.
If you guys want to buy it, here's the link.
Is privilege something you embrace or hide in your culture?
People in Ukraine who just made it, they do not hide their privilege. They show it off, unless they're politicians, and then they tell their children, oh, don't post this, don't post that. So I don't think in my case, it depends on the culture, but it depends on the occupation.
I feel like the richer the person is, the more, I mean, based on the people I met only, the richer they are, the more low-key, but then very good quality of life. Maybe they're more into collecting things rather than just showing off with the newest car. More into collecting vintage cars in the garage that no one actually sees. They're just spending on what they love, and that's that. That's what I see, those type of people. Either flashy people in Cannes and doing summer with their cars parked in front of the hotel, and then there's people who are just walking in flip-flops, and you don't, unless you know them, you don't know that he owns everything.
Who do you identify with?
Definitely the low-key.
What problem do you wish you could resolve with money?
Eliminate hunger, right? You don't want anyone to be hungry. If you're hungry, there's nothing else that could happen, right? You can never actually even make a funny TikTok and be famous, right? Like it's very basic. I don't understand why does anyone have to go hungry. There's so much food, there's so much money. It's not the problem. The money is not the problem. I don't know what is.
I think if there was a way to not have wars because of money, because it seems like in the end of the day, all of the wars are about money, but somehow it's still not resolved because people keep on fighting for resources. I just wish human lives were not involved into this and they could just make a deal and make diplomacy work and just negotiate on money.
If we women were presidents and kings, we would just go out on a spa day, chill out, be like, okay, what should we do now? And resolve it.
Exactly.
There would be no wars.
I love how they always say that women are incapable of being leaders because they're too emotional. But every time I turn on the news, I see emotional men.
They would do anything but go to therapy.
And finally, anything you would like to say to the girls from your culture?
Don't be afraid to be vibrant and embrace your feminine energy. If you feel like going crazy, go crazy. It's inspiring, and the world needs you to be as vibrant as you can. Never keep it in. And trust your gut.
I'll just say, girls, keep being baddies, because I know that Slavic girls are such baddies. One thing I would tell is you have to remember that the goal is not to marry rich, but to be the rich man.
Yes, amen.
Never depends on anybody. I recently was making a TikTok where I was looking through New York Times statistics. How lucky are you to marry rich if you are not a rich kid? Yeah. And the chances of marrying rich, if you are not a rich kid, are usually like between 5 to 10%, but the chances go between 20 to 30% if you have good education. So your best way to upgrade your lifestyle and to marry rich is actually by being educated. So I would say focus on your education.
Glow up.
But Hala, it was so fun to talk to you.
I really enjoyed it.
Guys, follow Hala, shop Ofa.
Yeah, shop Ofa. Oh, thank you so much, guys. I enjoyed it. I feel like I was pushed a little bit to like think of things that I didn't think about before.